Okay. So good afternoon and welcome to the Health and Government Operations Committee. This is Friday, March the 15th at 2 p.m. And we have 5 bill hearings. We're going to go through some of the rules in this committee. My name is Jocelyn Peña-Melnick. I'm joined by my Vice Chair, Bonnie Collison, to my left. I kindly ask for your patience if we encounter any technical or streaming issues. I'm going to go through some of the rules in this committee. Please set your electronic, and I'm going to do the same devices so that you're not embarrassed. Put it to vibrate. As a reminder, there's no food or drink allowed in the gallery. You will see us drinking because we're here for hours and we need to stay hydrated. For each bill, we're going to hear from the bill sponsor and the sponsor panel, followed by witnesses. The sponsor panel in this committee is not limited, and I have made the decision to not time it. However, don't abuse it. No more than 5 minutes, because then I have to cut you in the middle of the testimony, and I don't like to be rude. While all witnesses have 2 minutes to provide testimony, a timer is displayed on the screen and a sound will play when your time has expired. Please, again, wrap up when it expires. I don't like to be rude and I don't want to interrupt you. Just wrap up your thought. A timer, as I said, is displayed, and please adhere to our usual committee rules of 1 question and 1 answer, and please keep your question brief. Members of the public will be able to view this live stream on the YouTube channel on the Maryland General Assembly website. Today, we'll hear the following bills in this order. We'll start with Delegate Rose. Will you please be so kind and come up and welcome? Delegate Rose used to be part of this committee, and then she left us. High-risk pregnancy reimbursement fund establishment. Delegate, followed by House Bill 1233, Delegate Metzger, who used to also be here and left us. And then House Bill 276, Delegate Grammer, House Bill 858, Delegate Ciliberti, and House Bill 884, Delegate Miller. Delegate Rose, welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and wonderful members of this committee. I did enjoy my time here a few years ago.
Thank you.
For the record, Delegate April Rose here to support House Bill 1216. 1216 will establish a high-risk pregnancy reimbursement fund to provide reimbursement to an individual for unforeseen out-of-pocket healthcare costs related to the individual's high-risk pregnancy. I'm certainly open to amending the amounts to help additional people, but the way that I postured the bill to start, it would be up to a reimbursement of $25,000 from this fund for each high-risk pregnancy. And again, to help more families, I'm open to changing that if it is the will of the committee. And you have my written testimony. The reason that I brought this bill is in our family, my nephew and his wife had a extremely high risk pregnancy with a micropreemie that was born. In fact, my nephew was not even as big as a water bottle. And thanks to, the wonderful doctors and the care that they were able to receive, he is thankfully now a thriving 3-year-old and doing perfectly fine. But even with good insurance, they personally paid, the baby was in the hospital for not quite a year, but a little under that. And they had out-of-pocket expenses of $108,000. And so my hope is with this, it would help families offset some of those costs. And how it would work, that the way that I postured the bill would that they could submit receipts for their out-of-pocket cost and then hopefully get a little bit of assistance with those costs. So I will stop with that. Happy to answer any questions, and I respectfully ask for a favorable report.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your family's story. We really appreciate it, okay?
Yeah.
And sorry they had to go through that. Are there any questions for the delegate? Seeing none, thank you so much for being with us, Delegate Rose. This actually concludes the bill hearing on House Bill 1216. House Bill 1233, Delegate Metzger.
Thank you, Madam.
Welcome to your all committee, your all house.
That's it.
This is called 1233, Public Health Abortion.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a joy to be here. amongst some distinguished people. Well, some's a little bit more distinguished than the others, but I love you. I told somebody the other day, Madam Chair, that when you have a bill in HGO, and I mean this from my heart, when you have a bill in HGO and when it comes out of HGO, it's been vetted very well, and it's always one that you can support. So I just felt like I wanted to share that from my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Delegate Rick Metzger for the record, and I'm House Bill 1233, or yes, 1233. This bill has been titled the Heartbeat Bill. And as you know, I've studied this and done this for several years. But this bill clarifies that the mother of an unborn child has the right to hear the heartbeat of the unborn before deciding having an abortion. It is my hope that the mother hears the heartbeat of that unborn child. She will decide not to have an abortion, but rather give that child up for an adoption. There are so many people that are looking to have a child by adoption, and this could be a very helpful way to turn a negative into a positive. Ladies and gentlemen, just a few months ago, I'm going to bring this personal. Just a few months ago, I did a funeral for a mother that had a baby that was just 1 year old. And that baby in that casket was just like an angel. And that mother, on the day of the funeral, leaned down to the casket and just said, she called me Reverend. She said, Reverend, if I could just hear the heartbeat of my baby one more time. And that hit me, that if the mother could hear that heartbeat one more time, she might just decide to give that child up. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an abortion. This is life. This is giving life. I'm touched for this for just a moment. So, but if the mother decides to have the abortion, the procedure must be performed by a physician rather than another healthcare provider. So I'm hopeful this year that I've told someone that Planned Parenthood should get on board and let that be a help to them, that the mother can hear that heartbeat. That would be a tool for them in the toolbox. NARAL should get involved with this because it would help them give women some help. You see, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only when we have the baby, it's to take care of the baby afterwards. So I'm hopeful that House Bill 1233 will become law. Turn it over to my colleague.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Frank Arlinghouse. I'm from Howard County. I live in Ellicott City. This is not the first time I've appeared before you to testify on this bill. This is our annual conversation. Delegate Metzger every year has put forward this to try to, I think, provoke the conscience of each of you. I think there are a number of components of this bill that are important, and I'd ask you to consider them separately, to look to see what you think about each and every one, because I know that most of the committee is not going to like the heartbeat standard. First, I'd like to say we should treat abortion like healthcare. When we treat abortion like healthcare, we don't put it in its own special category. We give women the highest possible care, and that includes having a physician there, and it includes informed consent. Give them the standard of care you give to other procedures. Give them the level of informed consent that you give to other procedures. But the bill goes further than that. It goes much further than that. It provides requirements relating to protection from coercion. There'll be another bill today that talks about that. Fundamentally, the bill looks to support life, as the delegate has mentioned. It supports life by informing women and protecting women as they consider abortion. I stand personally on the side of the sponsors of the bill with the standard, because a beating heart means something, especially coupled with all the other scientific markers. I'm a scientist, so it's easy for me to decide that. But I ask you consider what that means to you. Consider what other markers you consider important in the development of that new life. Fundamentally, when does life begin? And when and why is it worthy of protection? And how are you going to protect women as well? ask that you return a favorable report on this bill.
Thank you very much for your testimony and for being with us today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to open it up for questions, actually from the committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Just one last word. I speak for those that cannot speak for themselves.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Laura Bogley. Okay. All right, thank you very much. So we actually announced right after committee, delegate, on the floor, I personally got up and stated the bill hearings will be immediately after. Okay, just for the record. Okay, that's where we make our announcements regarding the bill and the time. All right, thank you. So Ms. Laura Buckley is not here. This actually concludes the bill hearing on House Bill 1233. We're going to move on to Delegate Grammer's bill. And is he here? We're gonna put it on hold. Can you text him, please? And we'll wait for him. And how about Salaberti? Will you be so kind, sir? I'm gonna call House Bill 858, Health, Abortion, Ultrasound, and Waiting Period. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir, and thank you for your patience.
Not at all.
Will you be so kind and get started?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
For the record, Delegate Barry Celebrity, Frederick County, presenting Bill H Bill.
Will you like your panel to come up with you, sir?
I'm sorry?
Will you like your panel to come up with you?
Yes, I would.
Thank you, sir. We have Francis Allenhouse
Laura Bogley.
and Laura Bogley and Danielle
Daniel
Pimentel.
Pimentel.
Danielle Pimentel. I don't see Miss Danielle Pimentel, sir,
Oh.
but we're gonna proceed with both of you. Good afternoon.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm presenting Delegate Barry Celebrity from Frederick, as I said, House Bill 858. Health, Abortion, Ultrasound, and Waiting Period. And this bill generally prohibits a qualified provider from performing or inducing an abortion on a pregnant woman, number one, within 24 hours after the woman receives specified transabdominal ultrasound imaging, or two, if the woman resides at least 100 miles from the facility within 2 hours after the woman receives specified transabdominal ultrasound imaging. Violators are subject to a penalty of up to $2,500. And I'd like to turn it over to my distinguished colleague to the right.
Well, again, I'm still Dr. Frank Arlinghouse from Ellicott City. This too is a bill that I've testified on before you. I think the comments I made with respect to Delegate Mesker's bill, the portion that dealt with informed consent, apply here. This bill does not attempt to restrict abortion in any way. What it does do is recognize that the state has a compelling interest to regulate legal medical procedures, establish reasonable regulations and restrictions to ensure the health and well-being of the patient. Part of that is informed consent, making sure that the patient is fully aware of their options. I'm a scientist and I'm a big fan of being informed as to what I'm undergoing. I have 3 daughters who my daughters are between 17 and 26. They are the people who would benefit from this bill. My oldest daughter is a nurse in an emergency department. And if it's a different procedure, we look to inform the patient as fully as possible. A big part of this is informing the patient through ultrasound. They serve an essential medical purpose in confirming the present location and gestational age of a pregnancy. They help detect potential medical problems. A short waiting period gives the patient an opportunity for reflection. A majority of states have adopted some form of ultrasound requirement for abortion. Abortion providers have no compelling reason to voluntarily share the ultrasound view with the patient. They have no inherent interest, but I believe the state has an inherent interest in making sure that patients who are undergoing medical procedures, and abortion is a medical procedure, that they have sufficient information to make an autonomous, educated decision. I ask that you return a favorable report for House Bill 858.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for being with us today and giving us your testimony. We're going to go on to, is Ms. Laura Bagley here? No, all right, how about Danielle Pimentel? All right, I call them again. All right, we're gonna open it up for questions. Are there questions? Oh, I don't think that he's for this. Oh, yes, he is. You're right. Good afternoon, sir. How are you? Thank you for being patient. Will you be so kind and unmute yourself? Thank you. You want to give us your testimony? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Pena Melnick and Vice Chair Cullison, members of the committee, my name is Jeff Trimbath, and I'm the president of the Maryland Family Institute. We express our firm endorsement of HB 858 to provide women with the opportunity and time to observe an ultrasound image and listen to the baby's heartbeat before undergoing an abortion procedure. Hanging on refrigerator doors everywhere in Maryland are pictures like this one. This is a picture of baby Lennon, who was born in Maryland last year, and in her first 6 months of life has been to our Capitol and your offices and committee rooms 5 times already this session. In fact, when she's not here, people ask for her. Ultrasound pictures are confirmations of the development of life within the womb and its need for protection. And this bill allows women considering abortion to have this moment when they can view their child and make an informed decision about their pregnancy. Otherwise, as is the case far too many times, women and girls, many of whom we represent here, are left not knowing the details about their abortion and regretting them later on. We know this as many post-abortive women have shared the physical, emotional, spiritual, and psychological toll of the abortion procedure that they would not have undergone had they seen their baby and heard its heartbeat. States possess the constitutional authority to enact informed consent laws that mitigate the harm caused from inadequate information on abortion procedures. 25 of them actually have chosen to do so, surviving constitutional scrutiny. We want the same informed decision about abortion here in Maryland so that some women can ultimately decide to carry their children to term and to bring into Maryland our greatest treasures, our children. Thank you, and that's why we urge a favorable report on HB 858. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I really appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions for this panel? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time and all your efforts. We appreciate it.
And I'm hopeful that we can move favorably on this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Ladies
sir.
and gentlemen.
Thank you. Again, Danielle Pimentel and Laura Bugley. All right, and it is 1:50, not here. Thank you so much. This actually concludes the bill hearing on House Bill 858. Next, we have Delegate Grammer, House Bill 276.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With your
Abortion
permission,
data, submission to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. You have a panel, Ms. Laura Bugley and Michael New. Michael New here. Okay, and Jeffrey Trimbath, he was just on, is he still? Just want to make sure, because he signed up to testify in this one also. He just testified. Go ahead, sir.
thank you, Madam Chair, members of the
You're
committee.
welcome.
For the record, Delegate Robin Grammer here to present House Bill 276. House Bill 276 requires the Maryland Department of Health to submit to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention any data regarding abortion requested by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So Maryland, this is a constituent request, and this data, Maryland is one of 3 states that does not submit this data, and includes a lot of statistical information, including demographic information. So the constituent of mine who requested this is a Black Marylander, and she was concerned about how it might how abortion impacts minority communities. And I thought this was a simple but prudent measure so we can collect this data, which most other states do collect. So with that, I'd be happy to take questions and I ask for a favorable on House Bill 276.
Thank you. Mr. Trimbath. Will you be so kind and unmute yourself? Thank you. Great to see you again.
Well, Madam Chair, Pena Melnick and Vice Chair Cullison, members of the committee, my name again is Jeff Trimbath. I'm the president of the Maryland Family Institute, a nonpartisan policy research organization here in Annapolis. I'm grateful for the opportunity to ask for your favorable consideration of HB 276. This bill would require the state of Maryland to report data on abortion as requested by the CDC. The vast majority of states have done this for decades, and we think it's time for our state to favor transparency by embracing this sensible standard. Reporting data is important for two reasons, at least. First, reporting data empowers citizens to make good decisions. With data, ordinary Marylanders can measure and track, analyze, and draw conclusions about lots of subjects. And what more important subject is there than the reproductive health of Maryland's mothers and daughters? When do most women seek and receive abortions? What are the most used abortion procedures? What are the complication rates for each procedure? All of these questions are vital to making good decisions about reproductive health. As the father myself of two college-age daughters, this bill would empower them with the information that they want and that they need. Secondly, reporting data empowers you as our decision makers to make better decisions. All of you are accomplished leaders in your communities and in our state, but as talented as many of you are, none of you are experts on every piece of legislation or every subject that comes before your desks. Good data helps you understand the issues and then make the best decision about those issues. That's why we at the Maryland Family Institute care so much about good data, which forms a key part of our research and policy recommendations. Regardless of where you fall on the contentious issue of abortion, all parties ought to want to have more data, and that's why we urge your favorable consideration of HB 276. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. New, is this you?
Yes,
Will you be so kind and give your testimony?
sure. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm
You're
Michael
welcome.
New. I am an assistant professor of practice at the Catholic University of America. I teach economics to our business students there. I have a PhD in political science and a master's degree in statistics, both from Stanford University. I do a lot of research on the impact of state level pro-life laws, and I make very extensive use of abortion data from the Center for Disease Control. I will just cut right to the point. Right now, Maryland is an outlier. Maryland is only one of 3 states that has not reported any abortion data to the CDC since 2005. The other 2 states are California and New Hampshire. The most recent abortion data from the CDC comes from 2021. Maryland is only one of 4 states that did not report any abortion data. Again, nearly every other state does this. Even states where there is very strong sentiment in favor of legal abortion, nearly every other state complies with the CDC directive and reports abortion data on an annual basis. I'll just say this. This is a piece of legislation I think everybody should support, regardless of whether you think abortion should be legal, illegal, somewhere in between. Accurate and timely data on the instance of abortion, I think, can really improve public policy. It would help us evaluate the impact of sex education programs, of contraception programs, impact of various abortion regulations. It could provide us good information about the incidence of statutory rape. Again, regardless of what you think about the legality of abortion, everyone should be in favor of better, more timely and more accurate data. I recommend a favorable vote on HB 0276. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for being with us. Ms. Laura Bogley, will you please come up, please? And this is House Bill 276.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Laura Bogley, Executive Director of Maryland Right to Life. I want to thank Delegate Grammer for bringing this important bill that will advance reproductive health care by providing abortion data to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This bill has no bearing on a woman's access to abortion. The Supreme Court has held that abortion reporting requirements are constitutional. Yet since 2006, Maryland is one of only 4 states that refuse to provide abortion transparency by reporting to the CDC. The Guttmacher Institute estimates that 30,750 abortions were performed in Maryland in 2020. We know that's an increase with the interstate abortion trafficking. In 2022, Maryland taxpayers paid $7.6 million in state Medicaid for 11,557 elective abortions. The Maryland Department of Health has consistently failed to meet the needs of pregnant women and families. And appropriations should be withheld until the department provides accurate data to measure the number of abortions and related health complications, injuries, or deaths. This data also is necessary for any comprehensive studies by the Maryland Maternal Morbidity Review Board to address the correlation between abortion and subsequent pregnancy and complications, fetal and maternal deaths. If this assembly believes that abortion is healthcare and a public good, you should have no reason to treat abortion differently than any other medical procedure, and to be fully transparent and reveal to the public the true impact of abortion on Maryland women. We urge you to put patients before politics and to issue a favorable report on this bill. And I also want to object to the procedural impropriety today that as of 12:12 a.m. this morning, the public notice still stated that the bill hearings today for pro-life bills would start at 2:00 p.m. So this committee has given insufficient notice to the public of the change in time by an hour in advance, start time, not an hour in advance notice, which is a violation of citizens' due process, and we do strongly object. Thank you.
And I want to apologize for that, but this is crossover week. During crossover week, Ms. Bogley, things change. Sometimes we even start 2 hours later. We did get up. I got up on the floor and I announced the starting time. Are there questions for this panel? Seeing none, this concludes the bill hearing on House Bill 276. Have a blessed day. May we please have House Bill 884, Delegate Miller, Public Health Pregnancy Coercion, Protecting Pregnant Women Against Coercive Abuse and Human Trafficking. Is Delegate Miller here? Okay. Thank you, Delegate Miller. It's okay. Yes. And thank you for being patient. As I said, this is crossover week and things change, okay? So thank you for being flexible.
Yes. Thank you.
We have to return to the floor 4:30, so
Right.
thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, my esteemed colleagues on Health and Government Operations. I appreciate the opportunity to present House Bill 884 to you today. This bill is intended to protect pregnant women and girls that have been victimized by sex trafficking, domestic violence, or abuse from being further victimized. It would prevent anyone who knows or suspects that a woman is pregnant from forcing the woman to have an abortion, from committing or threatening physical harm or criminal acts to her or her unborn child, from revoking scholarships, denying eligible social assistance, housing, financial assistance, or forcing her to move, or threatening to, or forcing her or her child into sex trafficking. This legislation includes important protections against human trafficking and requires signage to be posted in healthcare facilities that perform abortions or public higher ed institutions that provide abortion care services. These signs let women and girls know their rights, who to call for help, and how to get it. It requires practitioners to speak privately, to ask pregnant women if she's being coerced into an abortion, and provide her with referrals and a private phone to call for help, as well as an alternative exit. There's also a 24-hour waiting period for women in cases of known, alleged, or suspected violations of this legislation. House Bill 884 establishes a misdemeanor penalty for coercing a woman to have an abortion where violators would be subject to a maximum $1,000 fine. And in response to concerns brought forth from Maryland Judiciary, I have drafted an amendment, which I have here if anyone would like a copy. And that make the bill stronger and alleviate their concerns. It would actually establish a grant specifically designed to provide legal counsel to victims of sex trafficking and appoint counsel to victims of violations from this legislation from either legal aid or from a student law clinic. This bill is not about preventing abortion. It's about preventing women from being forced to have an abortion. Often a woman who discovers she is pregnant under not the best circumstances finds herself facing many difficult choices. Studies have shown that they often are subjected to intense pressure from their partners or family members, which is complicated further when they are in horrible situations of abuse or are caught up in the terrifying web of sex trafficking, in which the most victims are between 14 and 17 years of age. There are girls and women that arrive at clinics who are not there by their own choice, and this may be one of the only chances that they have to reach out for help. This legislation is also about raising awareness on how to get help to the most vulnerable among us. I want you, if you have, because I know it's crossover week and I know we're all crazy and tired and everything right now. So if you look up on your computer, we actually have on our MGA or governor's website about human trafficking. It's actually really great. And I would encourage you to watch this if you have moments. It has all of the organizations in each county, and Frederick County has been this has been a key issue for us. Also where we have to give hotel staff trainings, but it also has at the very bottom a documentary, which is What I've Been Through Is Not Who I Am. And it's a documentary, and I would just encourage you all to watch it to realize the impacts of sex trafficking and what it does and how it impacts people. And it's a great video. So we have the resources already. So I want you to do something interactive for me for a second, for whoever would like to. All right. So if you do this, that, just do that. How many of you know what that means? Anyone?
It means that they're in danger.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what it means.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. So if you are driving down the road or at a store or walking by someone or in a clinic and someone flashes you that sign, what should you do? You should call 911 and get help for that person. They are signaling that they are not safe, that they could be a victim of domestic abuse or being kidnapped or sex trafficked. That's how public awareness and signage can work. That is part of the signage that's required in this legislation to be put up. And it was actually made popular on our not so friendly TikTok and has actually worked, including saving a 16-year-old girl in Kentucky. It is called the SOS hand signal, and millions of people were reached just through that public service alone in a week. There's also the Be Free text line, which is 233-733, and you text that for help. Public awareness campaigns work. And just by that simple exercise we just did, you may know how to save a life or rescue a young girl. There's also the Wear Blue campaign, which is on January 11th. We're supposed to wear blue, which I think would have coincided with us just starting here. So these are some of the issues that we need to start addressing as legislators. We need to bring awareness. We need to put aside our differences and come together on areas where we agree. And House Bill 884 is common sense legislation that just seeks to protect girls and women. And I thank you for your time.
And thank you very much for your testimony. I really appreciate it. I have also on your panel, Francis Arlinghurst. Will you please come up? Is Danielle Pimentel here? Danielle Pimentel? Okay.
I'll give up my seat here.
Yeah. Hannah Lehman?
No, it's okay.
Hannah Lehman, can you come up, please? Pull up a chair. And Shirley Reddock?
Yes.
All right. And the last one that I'll come is Mr. New, you're right there. Okay, good afternoon. Go ahead. Please get started.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you were
Yes,
referring to
it's
me,
okay.
Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Pimentel, Policy Counsel at Americans United for Life, and I urge your support of this bill. This is a common sense bill that establishes necessary legal protections for women experiencing coercive abuse, including women who are victims of sex trafficking. And I want to highlight just a few of the specific provisions of the bill and their benefits. First, the bill prohibits an individual from engaging in various coercive acts. And these safeguards are certainly needed in Maryland because many women unfortunately are coerced into having abortions. In a 2023 national study, over 60% of women who had abortions reported experiencing high levels of pressure to abort from one or more sources. And if an individual engages in such coercion, the bill allows for women to have civil legal recourse against their abusers and bring a civil suit for damages, giving women back the control over their pregnancies and out of the hands of abusers. Victims of sex trafficking are among the women who experience coerced abortions. And to help combat this, this bill requires that the abortion provider ask the pregnant woman prior to the abortion and while they're in private, if she's being coerced or if she's being sex trafficked. And the bill also requires that the provider offer the pregnant woman with essential information about assistance, counseling, and protective services that are available to her, as well as a telephone and an alternative exit to the facility if she needs it. And these safeguards ensure first that women are informed about, again, the essential resources and assistance available to them if they are experiencing coercive abuse. And it also ensures that if women are being sex trafficked, that they're hopefully able to get out of that situation. And as well as ensures that women have authentic choice when it comes to their pregnancy. So lastly, the bill enacts additional safeguards by requiring that abortion providers post clear informational signs, and you heard a little bit about that, in patient waiting rooms, consultation rooms, and procedure rooms, which clearly states that it's legal to force a woman to have an abortion and that sex trafficking is illegal. And again, these are necessary safeguards, given that Maryland is an attractive destination for traffickers, as noted by the governor's office. And so I'll just conclude with this. Ultimately, many women who come to an abortion clinic are not there of their own free choice. They're there because they're being pressured to do so. And this bill responds to the rising need to protect women in this situation, ensure that they have authentic choice when it comes to their pregnancy. Thank you so much.
Next, and please adhere to the 2 minutes. Why don't we go, Mr. New?
Still Michael New. I'm not going to introduce myself again, but I will add that I am a resident of Hyattsville and I am an academic researcher who studies relevant research pertaining to both pregnancy and abortion. Regardless of one's stance on abortion, I would hope that everybody should agree that coercing or pressuring a woman to obtain an abortion is wrong. I would also add this is a larger problem than I think many realize. A May 2023 study that appeared in the journal Curious identified over 200 women that obtained abortions. 24% said the abortion was unwanted or coerced. A 2022 poll by the British Broadcasting Company found that 15% of women said they'd experienced unwanted pressure to terminate a pregnancy. Finally, a 2014 study by Laura Lederer and Christopher Wetzel in the Annals of Health Law found that 55% of trafficked women reported at least one abortion. So again, I think this is a larger problem than a lot of people are inclined to realize. And again, I would think that everyone should agree that pressuring or coercing a woman to obtain an abortion is wrong. On a personal note, I should add that I help organize a pro-life sidewalk counseling ministry outside the DC Planned Parenthood. There have been situations where I do think women have been pressured into obtaining abortions they didn't want. There was one situation where a woman snuck out of the clinic, unbeknownst to her partner, and sought a ride away from the clinic from one of her sidewalk counselors. There's another situation where a man dropped off a woman, and 2 minutes later, her friends picked her up. She clearly didn't obtain any services at Planned Parenthood. The friends were very happy. It looks like they rescued her from a partner that she didn't necessarily want to be in a relationship with. So again, I think this is a larger problem than people realize. Again, no pregnant woman should be forced to obtain an abortion against her will. I recommend a favorable vote on HB 844 or HB 884. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Arlinghouse?
My name is Dr. Frank Arlinghouse from Ellicott City. I ask that the members return a favorable report on this bill. Abortion is still legal and this bill doesn't make any attempt to change that, but it does attempt to provide protection for women, especially minors, protection from abortion coercion, and the state has a compelling interest to protect women. What I want to speak to you about, or rather what I'm going to speak to you about, are the extreme cases that my family has had to deal with. Many people are familiar with the September 2017 case of a Howard County teacher, Laura Wallen, who with her unborn baby Reed was killed. She was shot when she thought she was going to get engaged by her partner, who did not want to be trapped into that relationship. That, as a resident of Howard County, that greatly affected me and my family. It's an extreme example, but I have another one. Next month will be the 10th anniversary of my daughter receiving a call about her friend Kaylee, who died as a result of abortion-related violence. Kaylee was a remarkable teenager. She was 16 years old. She was pregnant. She was 5 months pregnant. She was happy to be having a baby. The father was not. He beat her. He choked her. He strangled her. He kicked her in the stomach while discussing the pregnancy. Ultimately, this happened on Wednesday. The baby died on Thursday or Friday. And on Saturday, Kaylee died. She and the baby were victims of this violence. The message that we're sending to men, because men are more often than not the perpetrators of such violence, is that abortion is also their right if they don't want to pay for it. I ask that you help protect women from coercion and maybe from these dangerous consequences afterwards. Please return a favorable report.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry to hear about your daughter's friend, okay? I am going to be getting up in about 3 minutes, and my vice chair, because we have a meeting in the back, Delegate Rosenberg is gonna preside. But this is what I have decided to do. There's 2 witnesses. For the first bill that we heard, House Bill 1216, there was only 1 witness that signed up, and that person was here. For Delegate Metzger, 1233, 3 witnesses signed up, and actually 2 testified. There was only 1 missing, and that was Ms. Laura Bogley. And for House Bill 276, everyone showed up for that one. For 858, the only ones that did not testify, there were only 4 witnesses, were Pimentel and Laura Bogley. We're gonna call those bills again so you could give your testimony, okay? Then everyone was able to give testimony. You can continue, please, okay? Who's next?
I will.
Give us your name.
I'm Dr. Shirley Reddick from Columbia, Maryland.
Thank
I'm
you.
teaching faculty at Johns Hopkins Pediatrics. And today I am testifying in favor of HB 884. Speaking as a pediatrician, medical educator, and mother, this act recognizes that reproductive autonomy means first and foremost freedom from coercion and violence. I bring to your attention the December 2022 American Academy of Pediatrics Clinical Report, Exploitation, Labor, and Sex Trafficking of Children and Adolescents, Healthcare Needs of Patients. This clinical report speaks to increasing global and national trends on human trafficking and exploitation, hereafter T&E. The preponderance being or including sex trafficking with the typical age of entry into sex trafficking occurring in the 11 to 17-year-old age group. There is a reminder that such victims may present in a variety of healthcare settings that include for trauma and reproductive issues. The report notes the need for healthcare providers and staff training for identifying T&E, knowing that T&E victims may rarely spontaneously disclose their situation. Attention to public education, increasing awareness of T&E through signs, messages, and posters in multiple languages and variety of locations as recommending, including where victims may see or present. There must be reporting lines and immediate safety measures to protect the victim when T&E is identified. Healthcare providers are mandated reporters of suspected child abuse and neglect and have reporting lines to law enforcement and child protective agencies. HB 884 can only address a subset of such child abuse, but a sex trafficking of a minor is such abuse. Provider and staff requirements should be the same. Facilities that offer abortion services recognized as healthcare services at state and federal level may be the first or only opportunity to identify and help victims of T&E. Likewise, as minors caught up in T&E not uncommonly remain trapped into adulthood, every effort must be made to ensure adult woman is fully informed and freely consents to an abortion. In closing, this act gives a path for aid of girls and women held in human or economic bondage due to pregnancy. Without the requirements and protection this act offers, abortion services become complicit in the T&E trade, which includes the coercive abuse of pregnant women. Please vote favorable of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who will be next?
Right here.
And I see Ms. Pimentel and Ms. Bogley are both here. We're gonna be calling those bills back so you can provide your testimony, then every witness would have given their testimony. Good afternoon. Can you give us your name, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Hannah Lehman, and I'm a high school junior at Rockbridge Academy in Crownsville, Maryland. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. Sex trafficking is a topic I care about and have addressed in my school newspaper. I'm here today to support House Bill 884. 15 to 50,000 people are trafficked in the United States today. Over 55% of this trafficking results in an abortion. Often traffickers will coerce their victims into performing abortions in order to cover up their crimes. This abuse violates both pro-life and pro-choice ideals and is one of the few areas both sides can find common ground on. The woman is no longer making a choice. Husbands, boyfriends, and primarily sex traffickers force their desires onto a woman, resulting in an abortion. As recorded in the book Terrify No More, Jody, who was coerced into working at a brothel, recalls that the brothel owners often injected her with drugs, presumably to prevent pregnancies. As she was forced to please over several thousand men the next few years, she never had the opportunity to raise her own family. Years later, she was rescued and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. And there's no doubt these stories occur in Maryland. Taylor was 13 years old when she became a victim of sex trafficking in Baltimore. Ryan Odell Oliver pleaded guilty of 3 counts of sex trafficking just over a year ago. Willis Lewis and Brittany Jones, 2 Maryland residents, were charged with trafficking teenage girls. Not all victims of human trafficking are rescued or given the opportunity to raise their own family. Today, give these victims of human trafficking the choice to say no to further violations of their bodily integrity. Give them a chance to assert their humanity. I hope we can count on your vote in favor of this act. Thank you.
Is there anyone who has not testified? There are 2 virtuals. Thank you. But all those here, ma'am.
Excuse me, Delegate Rosenberg. I also signed up to testify for this bill and received email confirmation.
Your name, please.
Annalise Bachman.
You are on the list. Please come forward. My mistake.
Worries.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Delegate Rosenberg and members of the committee. My name is Annalise Bachman. I'm 17 years old, and I serve as president of Rockbridge Academy Students for Life and student state captain for Students for Life Action. I am here in support of Senate Bill 884 today because everyone here should agree that no woman should be forced into an abortion. Earlier, one of the witnesses mentioned that the common age for sex trafficking is in between 14 and 17. That is my age range. According to former senior advisor on trafficked persons at the State Department, Laura Lederer, 55% of trafficked women have abortions, and 30% are coerced into multiple abortions during the time that they are trafficked. This faces us with the reality that a woman walking into an abortion clinic may be there under threat of a trafficker or from an abuser. Isla was 15 years old when she conceived after 4 years of violent rape. Her abuser constantly used abortion as a threat to cover up the evidence. She desperately wanted to keep the child that she lost, a 10-week-old girl that she named Rachel. What House Bill 884 would put into law are easy safeguards to make sure that women do not walk out of clinics and back into the hands of an abuser. It would require workers at abortion facilities to ask a woman if she is being coerced or trafficked, post signage informing her of where to get help, offer her private phone calls, and get her out by a safe, separate exit. These clinics are being asked to go the extra mile because the data shows that the victims are going to them, and they should be met with help and empowered to make their own choices. We cannot pass on this vital opportunity to intercept an exploited woman from an industry that is profiting off of her pain. If just one woman or girl is able to escape trafficking because you said yes to House Bill 8884, I think all of us would agree that your support was well worth it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We have 2 virtual witnesses, Jeffrey Trimbath and Caroline Smith. Mr. Trimbath.
Delegate Rosenberg, my name is Jeff Trimbath. I'm the president of the Maryland Family Institute, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to recommend favorable consideration of HB 884 to stop the repeated coercion of women to receive abortions. This law hits the nail on the head, and it calls out the overfunded, overprotected abortion industry in our state for what it is, a tool that predators and traffickers have been using to punish women. It lists numerous ways that women are coerced to have an abortion, and it outlaws them. We know that the vast majority of abortion-choosing women report that if their circumstances were different, they would bring that newborn into the world. But unfortunately, many of them are threatened by physical harm, removing financial support or housing, or being sold into sex trafficking. Women are told by predators and pimps, angry dads, abusive boyfriends that they must terminate the baby's life, often against their will, or else. We mentioned sex trafficking because all of you know that that is wrong. There's no excuse for it. Well, coerced abortion is a staple of sex trafficking. Sex trafficking, which is sadly growing, does not survive without coerced abortion. And many women in this trade are forced by their captors and abusers to terminate their child to protect their captor's bottom line. This bill deserves your bipartisan support. And even for those who may be pro-choice on abortion, should vote for this bill. You want that choice of women, whether it's to keep or to terminate their baby, to be a truly free choice. That's what this bill seeks to do, to ensure that no woman is forced to make a choice that she doesn't want to make. A coerced choice is no choice at all. And that's why we urge your favorable consideration of HB 884. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Smith?
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Caroline Smith. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit organization called the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. I am a progressive, feminist, queer, 25-year-old woman, and I'm coming to you today in support of HB 884, a bill that would protect women against coercive abuse and human trafficking. I'm asking today that the state of Maryland pass this bill in order to become a safe place for women and girls to live. In my work as an activist, I've seen the realities of what happens to vulnerable people when they are forced or coerced into an abortion, and I can tell you it is not freedom or liberation. I also know the sad truth that abortion providers and their supporters often turn the other way when they're faced with these situations, saying it's not their duty to know the reason why their patient is there. But I say it is exactly their duty to understand and take care of those who come to them for help. I would like to speak directly to the Democrats in the room. Today, I am standing in solidarity with our friends across the aisle, and I'm asking you to do the same and to do the right thing. Use your political power to protect people rather than leave them further in harm. I view my work through a reproductive justice lens, and my view of reproductive justice is creating a world where everyone can live free from violence. I ask that you consider what it would say to the state of Maryland if you were to deny a bill that simply asks for regulations to be put in place so that young people can be protected from sex trafficking and medical coercion. Please consider what this message would send to your state if you voted against this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of either witness? If not, we thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the room who wishes? Ms. Bugley, do you wish to testify on this bill? I didn't hear you. Okay, thank you. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 884. We'll go back now on to House Bill 858. Who is present, who was not able, who signed up and was not able to, please come forward and identify yourselves.
Hear me? Oh,
Now
good
we can.
afternoon. Thank you so much. And thank you, Madam Chair and members of this committee for allowing me to provide my testimony in support of HB 858. My name is Danielle Pimentel. As I stated earlier, I serve as policy counsel at Americans United for Life, and I urge this committee to support this bill because it safeguards women's health and their informed consent. Ultrasound provisions promote both women's physical and psychological health and advance this state's very important and legitimate interest in protecting maternal health and safety. Ultrasounds are the only method of diagnosing ectopic pregnancies, which, if left undiagnosed, can result in infertility or even fatal blood loss. And ultrasounds also enable healthcare providers to more accurately date the gestational age of a child, which of course protects the woman by ensuring that the appropriate abortion procedure is performed and provides relevant information necessary for her to make an informed decision, since we know that the risks of abortion increase as gestational age increases. And right now, Maryland does not have require any ultrasound to be performed prior to an abortion, which can lead, like I said, to a host of complications for the woman. So this bill is certainly needed. The bill notably does not mandate that a woman must look at the ultrasound, but it allows her to have the option if she would like to. And offering women the opportunity to receive and view an ultrasound helps ensure that they have an informed choice, because they're able to give her the option to see her unborn child as he or she really is, to see his or her form, to see his or her face, and hear their heartbeat. And medical evidence indicates that women feel bonded to their children after seeing them on ultrasound. And women have the right to see their unborn child if they would like to, and this bill ensures that they have that option. Today, this committee has the opportunity to take this important step towards ensuring that women of Maryland are not denied vital information about their pregnancy, but instead empowered to make a fully informed decision, which ultrasound provisions help to ensure. And for these reasons, I strongly urge your support of this bill. Thank you so much again for your time in hearing my testimony.
Ms. Bogley?
Thank you, Delegate. Thank you, members of the committee. I'm Laura Bogley, Executive Director of Maryland Right to Life. I want to thank Delegate Siliberti, who unfortunately is no longer here, in order to answer any questions that may be inspired by my testimony. The Supreme Court has long upheld informed consent laws, which are not an attack on reproductive freedom, but a guarantee of them. Informed consent laws are critical to a woman's physical and mental health and protect women against abortion or coercion at the hands of abusive partners and sex traffickers. In a national Gallup poll, 88% of Americans favored informed consent laws. 78% are in favor of waiting periods. The majority of states have some form of informed consent law. Unfortunately, in 1991, Maryland prioritized the interests of abortion providers over the rights of pregnant women by repealing the informed consent law that we already had in our statutes that was repealed in 1991 by the Assembly. This bill would restore those rights and guarantee women considering abortion non-judgmental, scientifically accurate medical facts about the development of her preborn child, including the right to view an ultrasound of her growing child. Profit-minded abortionists refuse to allow women to view the ultrasounds of their growing child because they know that 81% of women who view their ultrasound will choose life for their child. By denying women the right to make a fully informed choice, the abortion industry is engaging in a form of abortion coercion. We need to make sure that women are in the position to choose. They can't do that if they don't have adequate information. Dr. Bernard Nathanson, co-founder of NARAL, was known as America's abortion king. After killing over 75,000 preborn babies, Dr. Nathanson was able to view a real-time ultrasound and stated, quote, "As a result of all this technology, I finally came to the conviction that this was my patient. This was a person. I was a physician pledged to save my patients, plural patients' possessive lives, not destroy them. So I changed my mind on the subject of abortion," end quote. If the state considers abortion health care, then you must hold abortion providers to the same standard of medical care as all other healthcare providers. We urge your favorable report. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the members of the committee? Seeing none, we thank you both very much.
Thank you very much.
Although you may want to stay at the table if you are testifying as well. Maybe it's just Ms. Bogley
I think
on House Bill 1233.
Thank you, Delegate, members of the committee. Again, Laura Bogley, Executive Director of Maryland Right to Life. We want to thank Delegate Metzger for introducing this important legislation. And unfortunately, he is no longer here to answer any questions that may be inspired by my testimony. This bill advances the state's interest in women's health as well as the lives of preborn children whose heartbeats can be detected. Federal courts have upheld state laws to protect preborn children when their heartbeat can be detected. 13 states currently have fetal heartbeat laws in effect. State laws should be consistent with modern scientific knowledge about fetal human development. 95% of biologists agree that each new human life comes into existence at the moment of fertilization. A fetal heartbeat can be detected after 18 days gestation. This is not a matter of opinion or religious dogma, but of scientific fact. In fact, 9 out of 10 OBGYNs refuse to commit abortions because they recognize the scientific fact that abortion kills a living human being. This bill also seeks to restore the medical standard of care to ensure women have access to safe medical procedures. Because of the Abortion Care Access Act enacted by this Assembly in 2022, physicians now serve only a tangential role on paper, either as remote medical directors for clinics or as remote prescribers of abortion drugs. With the deregulation of do-it-yourself chemical abortion drugs, the abortion industry itself has removed abortion from the spectrum of healthcare and exposed women to back alley style abortions where they're left to bleed alone without physician's examination or supervision. 80% of people represented in a 2023 Marist poll prefer public policies that support the needs of both mothers and their preborn children. This bill would improve the quality of care received by both mothers and children and bring Maryland into alignment with public opinion on abortion. We urge your favorable report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for this witness? Chair seeing none, thank you very much. This, I believe, concludes the hearings on these 5 bills. I would ask that everyone stay in place because we will have a voting session upcoming. I will make sure the chair knows that we are done in here so that we can expedite.